Have you ever felt like you were drowning while everyone around you was swimming just fine? Maybe you've looked in the mirror and wondered how you ended up so far from where you thought you'd be. Maybe you've made mistakes that seemed too big to fix, burned bridges you can't rebuild, and lost pieces of yourself you'll never get back. You tell yourself it's too late, that some damage can't be undone. But what if I told you that your lowest moment might be exactly where your greatest transformation begins? What if one woman's story could prove that rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation? This is the story of a woman who lost everything until one decision changed the direction of her entire life. Stay with me until the end, because this might be the moment that saves your future. In a crowded city where ambition filled the air like oxygen, there lived a 29-year-old woman named Sarah. Just 3 years earlier, Sarah had been everything she dreamed of becoming. She was a marketing director at a prestigious firm, earning a six-figure salary, living in a beautiful downtown apartment, driving a luxury car, and dating a successful lawyer named Michael. Her Instagram was perfect, her life was perfect, everyone envied her. But perfection, Sarah would learn, is often just a beautiful mask covering something broken underneath. Sarah's downfall didn't happen overnight. It started with small compromises. A glass of wine to unwind after stressful meetings became 2 glasses, then 3, then a bottle. Weekend parties with colleagues became weeknight escapes. Prescription pills for anxiety became daily necessities. She told herself she had it under control, that successful people blow off steam, that she deserved to relax after working so hard. But control is a funny thing. You think you have it right until the moment you realize it has you. The cracks started showing at work. Missed deadlines, forgotten meetings, presentations she showed up to unprepared. Her boss, a woman named Patricia who had mentored her for years, pulled her aside one afternoon. "Sarah, I'm worried about you. You're not yourself lately. Is everything okay?" Sarah forced a bright smile, the same smile she'd perfected for Instagram. "I'm fine, Patricia. Just tired. I'll do better." But she didn't do better because she couldn't. She was trapped in a cycle she didn't know how to break. Then came the unraveling. On a Tuesday morning in March, Sarah woke up in her car, parked outside a bar she didn't remember driving to. Her phone had 47 missed calls, 15 from work, 20 from Michael, 12 from her mother. Her hands were shaking. Her head was pounding. And for the first time, she felt something she'd been avoiding for months. Fear. Real, cold, paralyzing fear. She drove to work 2 hours late. Makeup smeared, yesterday's clothes wrinkled, excuses prepared. But Patricia wasn't interested in excuses. "Sarah, this isn't working. You've been given chances, warnings, support. I can't protect you anymore. We're letting you go." Effective immediately. Sarah stood there, frozen. This couldn't be happening. Not to her. She was the successful one, the one who had it all figured out. "I can fix this," she stammered. "Give me one more chance." "I'm sorry," Patricia said, and Sarah could see genuine sadness in her eyes. "I hope you get help. Security will escort you out." The walk through the office, past colleagues who wouldn't meet her eyes, carrying a box of her belongings, was the longest walk of her life. The girl who had everything was now the woman everyone pitied. Michael broke up with her that same week. "I can't watch you destroy yourself," he said. "I've tried to help, but you don't want help. You want enablers. And I can't be that." Her apartment, the beautiful downtown loft she could no longer afford, had to go. Her car, leased on a salary she no longer had, was repossessed. Within 6 weeks of losing her job, Sarah had lost everything that defined her. Success, relationship, home, identity. She moved back to her childhood bedroom in her mother's small house in the suburbs, the same room she'd left 10 years earlier, promising she'd never come back unless she was visiting as a success story. Her mother, Linda, was a quiet woman who worked as a nurse at the local hospital. She didn't lecture Sarah, didn't say "I told you so," didn't ask invasive questions. She simply said, "You're home now. We'll figure it out." But Sarah couldn't figure anything out. She spent her days in bed, curtains closed, scrolling through social media, watching her former colleagues post about projects and promotions, watching Michael post photos with a new girlfriend, watching her old life continue without her. The shame was suffocating. She had been somebody, and now she was nobody. And the worst part? She had done this to herself. Weeks turned into months. Sarah barely left her room. She wasn't looking for jobs, because what would she say in interviews? "Why did you leave your last position?" Oh, I was fired for showing up drunk. She wasn't seeing friends because they'd all been work friends, and now they'd moved on. She wasn't doing anything except existing in a fog of depression, regret, and self-hatred. Her mother would leave food outside her door, knock gently, and say, "I love you, sweetheart. Please eat something." Sometimes Sarah ate, sometimes she didn't. One night in late August, Sarah's mother came home from a double shift at the hospital, exhausted. Sarah heard her in the kitchen, making tea, and something, guilt or loneliness, or maybe just a flicker of the person she used to be, made her get out of bed. She walked to the kitchen doorway. Her mother looked up, surprised but pleased. "You're awake." Sarah nodded. "Mom, I'm sorry. For everything. For being a burden. For failing. For wasting everything you sacrificed to give me." Her mother set down her tea and walked over, taking Sarah's face in her hands. "Baby, you haven't failed. You've fallen. There's a difference. Failing is giving up. Falling is what happens before you learn to stand stronger." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how to stand up. I don't even know where to start." Her mother led her to the kitchen table and sat down. "Let me tell you something I've never told you. When I was 25, I was addicted to painkillers after a car accident. I lost my first nursing job because of it. I was living with my sister, broke, ashamed, convinced my life was over." Sarah stared at her mother, shocked. "You? But you're the strongest person I know." Her mother smiled sadly. "Now I am. Then, I was broken. But I met someone who changed my perspective. A counselor at a free clinic. She told me something I'll never forget. She said, 'Linda, you're standing at a crossroads. One road is familiar. It's the road of blame, shame, and slow destruction. The other road is unknown. It's the road of accountability, work, and rebuilding. Both roads are hard, but only one leads somewhere worth going. Which one will you choose?'" Sarah felt something crack open inside her chest. "What did you choose?" "I chose the hard road that led somewhere. I went to rehab. I worked 2 jobs while going to community college. I rebuilt my nursing career from the bottom. It took 5 years before I felt like myself again. But I made it. And Sarah, if I could do it, you can too." Her mother squeezed her hand. "But you have to choose. Tomorrow morning, you have to wake up and choose the hard road. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Tomorrow. Because waiting for the perfect moment is just another way of choosing the familiar road." That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She lay in her childhood bed, staring at the ceiling, her mother's words echoing. "You have to choose." Around 3 a.m., she got up and looked at herself in the mirror. Really looked. She barely recognized the woman staring back. Hollow eyes, unwashed hair, a stranger wearing her face. And she made a decision. Not a dramatic one. Not a resolution to change everything at once. Just one simple decision. "Tomorrow, I will do one thing differently. Just one thing. I will get up, get dressed, and leave this room. That's all. One thing." The next morning, Sarah's alarm went off at 7 a.m., something she hadn't said in months. Every part of her wanted to turn it off and go back to sleep. But she remembered her decision. One thing. She got up. She showered for the first time in a week. She put on clean clothes. She walked downstairs. Her mother was having coffee before her shift. She looked at Sarah, and her eyes filled with tears. "You're up." Sarah nodded. "I'm up. It's a start." Her mother hugged her tightly. "It's more than a start, baby. It's a choice." That day, Sarah did something she'd been avoiding. She walked to the local library, a 20-minute walk through her old neighborhood. She felt exposed, convinced everyone was judging her, the girl who came back a failure. But she kept walking. At the library, she sat at a computer and did something terrifying. She searched for help. Addiction support groups, free counseling services, job training programs. For the first time in months, she wasn't scrolling through other people's lives. She was researching her own recovery. She found a support group meeting that evening at a community center 2 miles away. Her first instinct was to close the browser and go home. But she remembered one thing different. She wrote down the address. That evening, she told her mother she was going out. Her mother didn't ask where, just said, "I'm proud of you." The community center was in a church basement, fluorescent lights, metal folding chairs, the smell of old coffee. About 15 people sat in a circle. Sarah almost turned around, but a woman near the door smiled at her. "First time?" Sarah nodded, unable to speak. "You're in the right place. Come sit." For the next hour, Sarah listened to strangers tell stories that sounded like her own. A teacher who lost his job. a mother who lost custody of her kids, a businessman who lost his company. All of them were broken. All of them were trying. When it was Sarah's turn to share, her voice shook. My name is Sarah. I lost my career, my relationship, my home. I'm 29 and living with my mom, and I don't know how to fix any of it. A man across the circle, maybe 50 years old, spoke gently. You can't fix it all at once. You fix one day, then another, then another. Eventually, you look back and realize you've built something new. It won't look like what you lost, but it might be better, because it's built on truth instead of pretense. Sarah went back to that group every week. It became her anchor. She learned that recovery wasn't about perfection, it was about progress. She learned that shame loses power when you speak it out loud. She learned that other people's success wasn't evidence of her failure. Everyone was fighting battles she couldn't see. After a month of meetings, the group leader, a woman named Grace who'd been sober for 15 years, approached her. Sarah, you've been consistent. That matters. Are you ready for the next step? What's that? Rebuilding your life outside these walls. Finding purpose again. Grace connected Sarah with a workforce development program for people re-entering the job market after setbacks. The program offered free training, resume help, and interview coaching. Sarah's first class was on a Monday morning. She walked into a room of 20 people, all of them starting over for different reasons. The instructor, a man named David, said something that stuck with her. Your past is not your prison unless you choose to stay locked in it. You're here, which means you're choosing the key. Use it. Sarah chose to train in digital marketing, the field she'd left in disgrace. Some people in the program questioned that choice. Why go back to something that hurt you? But Sarah realized something important. She hadn't failed at marketing. She'd failed at managing her life. Marketing was still her skill, her passion. She just needed to approach it differently, honestly, humbly, healthfully. The program was 12 weeks, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Sarah showed up early every day. She absorbed every lesson. She rebuilt her portfolio with personal projects. She practiced interviews until her answers felt natural. During this time, Sarah also started therapy, something she'd always dismissed as unnecessary. Her therapist, a calm woman named Dr. Patel, helped her understand the root of her addiction. You used substances to numb the pressure you put on yourself, Dr. Patel explained. You built an identity around external success. When that identity was threatened, you didn't have internal strength to fall back on. Now you're building that internal strength. It's harder work, but it's permanent. Sarah learned to sit with discomfort instead of numbing it. She learned that self-worth couldn't come from job titles or Instagram likes. She learned that asking for help wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. 6 months after moving back home, Sarah completed the workforce program. At the graduation ceremony, she was chosen to speak. Standing in front of her classmates, instructors, and family, including her mother in the front row, Sarah said, 6 months ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd lost too much to ever recover. But I learned something important. Rock bottom isn't a place of ending. It's a place of clarity. When you have nothing left to lose, you're finally free to build something real. I don't know what my future holds, but I know who I'm becoming. Someone honest, someone resilient, someone grateful. And that person can handle whatever comes next. The audience applauded, but Sarah wasn't doing this for applause. She was doing it because it was true. 2 weeks later, Sarah got her first interview in almost a year. A small digital marketing agency was looking for a content strategist. The position paid half what she used to make, but it was a start. In the interview, the owner, a woman named Jennifer, asked the question Sarah had been dreading. I see a gap in your resume. What were you doing during that time? Sarah had practiced lying, prepared safe answers, but sitting there, she remembered Grace's words. Shame loses power when you speak it out loud. I lost my previous job due to personal struggles with addiction, Sarah said, her voice steady. I spent the last year in recovery, therapy, and retraining. I'm not the same person I was then. I'm more self-aware, more humble, and more committed to doing work that matters for the right reasons. I understand if that's disqualifying, but I wanted to be honest. Jennifer studied her for a long moment. Then she said, I appreciate your honesty. I've been in recovery for 8 years. I know how hard it is to rebuild. If you're willing to start at the bottom and prove yourself, I'm willing to give you a chance. Sarah started the following Monday. She arrived early, stayed late, and treated every task, no matter how small, like it mattered. She wasn't trying to prove she was the best. She was proving she was reliable, coachable, and committed. Her colleagues noticed. Her boss noticed. 3 months in, Jennifer called her into the office. "Sarah, you've exceeded every expectation. I'm promoting you to senior strategist and increasing your salary. But more importantly, I want you to know you've inspired our whole team. Your work ethic, your attitude, it reminds us why we do this." 1 year after hitting rock bottom, Sarah had rebuilt a life she was proud of. Not the flashy life she'd had before, but something better, something real. She had a job she loved, colleagues who respected her, a relationship with her mother that was deeper than ever, and most importantly, she had herself back. The real version, not the Instagram version. She still attended her support group every week, not because she had to, but because it kept her grounded. She still saw Dr. Patel monthly. She still took recovery seriously because she knew how quickly things could unravel. One evening, Sarah received a message on LinkedIn. It was from Patricia, her former boss. "Sarah, I heard about your new position. I'm so proud of you. I always knew you had it in you to come back stronger. If you ever want to grab coffee, I'd love to hear your story." Sarah stared at the message, remembering the shame of being escorted out of that office. But she didn't feel shame anymore. She felt gratitude. That firing had been the catalyst she needed. She replied, "I'd love that, Patricia. Thank you for caring enough to let me go. It saved my life." 2 years after her lowest point, Sarah was thriving. She'd been promoted again, this time to director of strategy at her agency. She was leading a team, mentoring young marketers, and speaking at industry events about resilience and second chances. She'd moved into her own apartment, nothing fancy, but it was hers, earned honestly. She'd even started dating again, taking it slow, choosing someone who valued substance over status. But the most important change was internal. Sarah no longer measured her worth by external achievements. She measured it by how she showed up each day, with integrity, with effort, with gratitude. She started a blog called From the Bottom Up, where she shared her story and offered hope to others rebuilding their lives. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of messages from people who felt alone in their struggles, who needed to know that comeback was possible. Sarah realized her mess had become her message. Her pain had become her purpose. And the life she was building now, honest, intentional, connected, was more fulfilling than the perfect life she'd lost ever was. My friend, Sarah's story is proof of something powerful. Your worst moment doesn't define your future. Your response to it does. Right now, you might be at rock bottom. Maybe you've lost a job, a relationship, your health, your direction. Maybe you've made mistakes that feel unforgivable. Maybe you're living with regret so heavy you can barely breathe. But here's what you need to understand. Rock bottom is not a grave. It's a foundation. It's the solid ground you need to build something that lasts. The difference between people who stay down and people who rise up is not talent, not luck, not even circumstances. It's one decision. The decision to stop waiting for perfect conditions and start taking imperfect action. Sarah didn't wait until she felt ready. She didn't wait until she had it all figured out. She made one decision, to do one thing differently. That's all. One thing. And that one thing led to another, then another, until her entire life had changed direction. So here's your challenge, the same challenge Sarah faced. Step 1, make one decision today. Not 10 decisions, not a complete life overhaul, just one. Maybe it's getting out of bed. Maybe it's making one phone call. Maybe it's attending one meeting, applying for one job, having one honest conversation. Choose one thing that moves you toward the life you want instead of away from it. Step 2, find your people. You cannot rebuild alone. Sarah had her mother, her support group, her therapist, her program. Isolation is the enemy of recovery. Connection is the cure. Find people who understand struggle, who won't judge your past, who will celebrate your small wins. They exist. You just have to be brave enough to look. Step 3, tell the truth. Shame thrives in secrecy. The moment Sarah started being honest about her struggles, shame lost its power. You don't have to broadcast your pain to the world, but find safe people and safe spaces where you can be real. Authenticity is the beginning of healing. Step 4, measure progress, not perfection. Sarah didn't go from rock bottom to director overnight. She went from bed to shower, from shower to library, from library to meeting, from meeting to program. Small steps, taken consistently, create massive change. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Focus on being better than you were yesterday. I promise you this. If you make the decision today to start moving forward, even in the smallest way, your life will begin to change. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but change is inevitable when you choose action over stagnation. You won't become perfect. You'll become real. And real is so much better than perfect because real can handle setbacks, real can adapt, real can last. Sarah had nothing but shame and a choice. You have more than that. You have her story as proof that comeback is possible. You have resources she didn't have. You have time she's already spent. The only question is, will you use it? Or will you stay in bed, scrolling through other people's lives, wondering why yours never changes? If you're ready to start your comeback, hit that like button right now as your commitment. Then drop a comment telling me, what's the one decision you're making today? Just one. Let's hold each other accountable. I'll be reading every single comment. Share this video with someone who's struggling, someone who needs to know that rock bottom isn't the end. Maybe this is the message that saves them. And subscribe to this channel because every week I bring you stories of real people who transformed their lives and the exact steps they took. Remember Sarah's words. Rock bottom isn't a place of ending. It's a place of clarity. When you have nothing left to lose, you're finally free to build something real. Your comeback story starts today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Today, make one decision. Take one step. That's all it takes to change your trajectory forever. Your future self is waiting on the other side of that decision. Don't make them wait another day.